Hello, 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 everyone. Good afternoon. How are you doing? How are you feeling? Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to this week's workshop from the Pinterest Creators team. Again, want to say thank you as always for spending your afternoon with us. As a quick reminder, we are recording this session, so we appreciate you being a part of it. But my name is Abby Adesanya. I'm the creator manager for fashion and beauty, and we have such an exciting day planned for you all today. We're excited to host our second workshop, Bringing Your Brand to Life on Pinterest. We partnered up with our friends at Weekend Creative, and they put together an amazing session. So hope you're ready for a fun afternoon. Get your notepad or your notes app ready, whatever you need to write this all down because you're going to need it. You're going to want to take it. The workshop will begin now. Have fun.
I'm Ellie.
And we're Weekend Creative. We are a photography agency based in San Jose, California. We work with brands to create images, and we focus a lot on fun and unique, playful concepts. And we also do a little bit of stop motion and GIFs here and there.
When we first started using Pinterest, it was really a place for us to go for inspiration, but we quickly realized that we could actually use it to attract clients and also to promote all of the educational material that we create on our blog. And now Pinterest has become the number one driver of traffic to our website. It drives about 50% of our traffic, and it's been consistently growing ever since we really started using it. And so we're really excited to share with you today how you can also use Pinterest as a tool to promote yourself and your brand.
In order to create pins that are engaging and also encourages your audience to save and click them, you want to make sure that you know exactly who your audience is and that you have a strong brand identity. You want to make sure that when somebody sees your pin that they know that it's coming from you. The first is color. According to 99 Designs, people decide they like something in 90 seconds or less, and 90% of that decision has to do with color. Color can communicate so many things, and that's why it's helpful to know a little bit about color theory when choosing your colors. Warm colors such as reds and oranges can communicate warmth and brightness and action, whereas cool colors such as blues and greens can communicate calm, peace, serenity.
There's also different names for different kinds of color combinations. So, for example, you could have complementary colors, which are directly across each other on the color wheel. So, for example, you could have red and green. But these combinations have a lot of contrast, and so they can be really tiring on the eye. So, you kind of want to use those combinations sparingly. Another combination is analogous colors, and these are colors that sit right next to each other on the color wheel. So, for example, you could have red and orange, and one color will support and one color will dominate. So, in that example, probably red would be the dominant color and orange would be the supporting color. These combinations are really pleasing to the eye and they're very easy to use. Another combination would be triadic colors, and these are colors that are like completely across from each other, but in kind of like a triangle. So, for example, you could have a red and then yellow and then blue, and that would create a triangle. So, these combinations have a lot of vibrancy. They're very like bright, but they're also very harmonious. So, it's also a great option.
Pick your main and secondary colors. Ideally, you would have 2 to 3 main colors and 1 to 2 supporting colors. And the idea is that you are consistent with them.
And a few resources to help you choose your colors are color.adobe.com. This is a great place where you can drop in a photo and it can pull a color palette for you. They also have a bunch of palettes that you can choose from. And then there's also Palette Perfect by Lauren Wagger and the Designer Dictionary of Color by Sean Adams.
Next is type, and fonts can also communicate a lot. For example, you can have fonts that are traditional, modern, elevated, playful, or even trendy. You can also experiment with pairing fonts. Ideally, you would want to pair two fonts that are different from each other. For example, a sans serif with a serif. For your designs, you'll want to select anywhere from 2 to 3 fonts, ideally 2. You don't want to get crazy because it can get wild. So anywhere between 2 and 3 is perfect.
And a few resources for helping you to choose your fonts. There is Adobe Fonts, which is super great. You can download, if you have an Adobe Cloud account, directly to your computer. Google Fonts, which has a lot of really great free fonts. There's also Creative Market, where you can buy unique fonts, especially if you're looking for something more trendy. That's a great place to go. And then lastly, there is Typewolf, which is a really cool website. And this is a great place to go to look for pairings and what fonts work well together.
Next is voice, and voice is all to do with the copy and the language that you use to reflect your brand. And all of this should tie in with all the rest of the graphical elements of your brand.
Yeah, you wouldn't want like really serious branding with really playful copy or vice versa. You want it to kind of feel like it all belongs together.
Yes.
And the same goes for your logo. When you design a logo for yourself, you also want it to, well, one, include your colors and your fonts that you use for your brand, but you also want it to reflect the look and feel of your brand as well.
And your imagery. Your imagery should also belong with the rest of your brand, right? It should go with the colors, your voice, your tone. Everything should all tie in together, and your images should reflect that.
So one thing that's really helpful when you're trying to keep your branding consistent, especially when you start putting your brand across many different platforms, is to create a brand guide for yourself. And if you work with a designer, your brand guide is going to be very extensive, but you can also create a simple one that you can kind of refer back to make sure that you're sticking within your guidelines that you've created for yourself. Just a helpful little reference document. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the one that I made for us. And we're actually undergoing a rebrand right now. So you guys are getting a little sneak peek at where our brand is headed. It's not 100% done, but this is kind of where we're at right now. So I made this little, little PDF for ourselves to kind of refer to. And this has been helpful for me as I've kind of been rebranding us and working on our new website and all of that. So I just have our brand name, and then I have our little, kind of our little tagline here, just to kind of remember who we are and what we do. And then I have our logo and a few different variations. These are the colors that we're choosing to use. And again, if you see our brand a few months from now, it may have been adjusted a little bit, but for right now, this is what it is. I have our 3 main colors, and then we have some secondary colors here. And so you can see we have more colors than just those few that we recommended, and that's okay.
Yeah, as long as it's all intentional, right?
As long as it's intentional. And as you'll notice, this is an analogous color palette. These colors sit very close together. So I think when you do that, it's easier to have more colors because you kind of have just different shades of the same and tints of the same color. So these are our colors. We have our fonts here. So as you can see, this is kind of like our header font. And then we use this font as like a secondary font and also as body copy. So I kind of use it in 2 different ways. And then this is our voice here. Our brand voice is playful, bright, cheery, humorous, and informative. All of your branding in place and you know what everything is going to look like, you can use tools like Adobe Spark to create pins that reflect your branding. Spark is a great tool. It's free, and I'm going to show you now how we can use it.
This is what Adobe Spark looks like on mobile. Now we're going to be showing it to you on the desktop version so that you can see a lot better. But just know that all of the things that we're about to show you, you can do right on the mobile app as well. And that is really going to be handy for you when you're creating all the graphics for your brand for your social media.
So here's what it looks like when you first pop it open. And one really great thing about Spark is that you're able to, if you have an Adobe Cloud account, you're able to create a brand. So you can take all of those things that we talked about, your logo, your fonts, your colors, and upload them into Spark so that it's super, super easy for you to create consistent content. So this is what our brand looks like. But if I was going to make a new one, you would just click here and say create a brand. And then you would be able to upload your logo, upload your color, upload your font. And even if it's a font that's not on Adobe Fonts, so for example, our font called Tangerine we bought from Creative Market, I was able to upload that and keep it within our brand. And then once you have your colors uploaded, it lets you upload one main color on that first page, and then once you go in into your actual brand, you're able to upload additional colors. So see, I've uploaded all these additional ones, and you can just either select a color or you can put the hex code here and get your exact brand colors in there. So let's go in and create a pin. We're gonna choose a custom size, and we're gonna do 1,000 by 1,500. And then another great thing about Spark is that it has all these different templates that you could choose from. I do kind of recommend creating your own templates, which I'll show you how you can duplicate things and to create templates. But, you know, it's a great way to start. And if you're looking for something that's already in there, then you don't have to design it. That's great. So let's see. Let's just play around for a second and pretend we're going to use this template for something. So a great thing is because I've already loaded my colors in here, I can click on colors and then my brand, Weekend Creative, and it will change to my colors. Now I'm probably going to have to go in and I can shuffle the colors until it gets to one that looks good. Or I could even go in and change these manually if I wanted to. And then I would also be able to, you know, change this font to be the font that we have for our brand, which is Tangerine. And I could go through and change all of these fonts and create them to look exactly like my brand. So that's how you can utilize templates. Now let me show you how you could create your own template. Okay, so like we mentioned, we have a lot of blog posts, a lot of educational content, and I want to create a template that I can use for two different kinds of posts that will promote our blog. One just focusing on text, and then one with an image. So what I'm going to do is I'm first going to drop in a photo. Let's just do the photo one first. I'm going to drop in a photo here, upload a photo. Okay, so I have dropped in a photo here. You can also use this to search for Adobe Stock, which is a great place to find imagery too if you're needing to look for something. And then I can resize this here by dragging on the corners. And then I could also crop this if I wanted to directly in here. If I wanted to kind of bring this down, or maybe I want to bring it in a little bit more, I can crop it like this. And then there you go. And then I'm able to place it, and I can use these guides to, you know, make sure it's centered correctly, exactly how I want. Okay. So now I want to incorporate my brand colors. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this. And what's kind of fun is you can kind of like shuffle through these colors. I think this looks really fun. So let's stick with that. And then I'm also able to go down here and select my primary logo and drop that in. And I can move it around however I want. I can make it a little bit bigger, which I do want to do. And I do think it's important to include your logo and your website on your pins. You know, just kind of one for brand recognition, but two, just so that, you know, people can look at it. And even if they don't save it or click on it, they have your name in mind. So I do think that's important. And actually, because this color is kind of similar, I'm going to go ahead and shuffle my colors again so I get something where my logo is going to stand out a little bit more. I could always upload my logo in different colors if I wanted to. And then I'm going to add some text. So I go over here and I would add text. And the name of this blog post is 3 favorites. Let's see if I can type and talk at the same time. 3 favorite photography tools. And you want something that's like, ooh, I want to know what are their favorite photography tools.
You want to grab them.
Something that's like, ooh, like I need to learn more. I need to click on this. I need to
them
save
right away.
This. Yeah, hook them right away. So not too many words, and something that's like very compelling. So and you know, like we talked about earlier, knowing your audience, right? Like our audience for our educational tools are freelancers and photographers. This is targeted towards photographers. Yeah. You know, other photographers who see this are going to be like, oh, I need to know what these tools are. Yes. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to pick my font that I have in here, and I can resize this. I can make this so that it, let me just close this so I have more room. I can make this so that it, you know, fits a little bit better. And I can drop it right there. And then I also want to add our website. So let me go ahead and add that. Oops. And that would drop right there. And again, I would be able to change these colors if I wanted to. I would be able to change them right here. And there's all these different effects that you can do to, you could add. This would add like a shape behind the text. You could add a shadow or an outline. You can change the alignment here. You can change the opacity. So there's really so much that you can do, and it's very flexible, which is great. You can make it exactly how you want for your brand. You'd also be able to add backgrounds here if you wanted, a fun kind of patterned backgrounds. You can also, there's design assets, but you could also kind of create your own assets and have those, and libraries, icons. You can
There's really so much
dive
flexibility.
dive deep into this. This is a very brief overview. So this is one pin that you could have, and basically what I'm going to do is I am going to publish it. Actually, I don't want to do that. I just want to save it. Okay. So this is just one pin that you're going to do, and let me go out to the main page. One thing I would be able to do is I'd be able to download this, or say I wanted to create the same exact look but for a different blog post. I'd be able to go here and I could duplicate this post, and I could give it a new name, but I'm not going to. So here I have a duplicate. I would also be able to just go into this and edit it if I wanted to, and just drop in a new photo and drop in a new title. That would be a great thing to do too. But then you don't have that original if you ever wanted to go back and edit it. So this is a great way to make sure that you still have that original. So you go to edit project again, and then just like we did before, you could be able to drop in a new photo, drop in, change the text, and then you could, mix up the colors since, this is a different, a different pin. You might want to have different colors, but still staying within your brand colors. So we can also show you how we could just do one just with type and make something kind of interesting there. So I'm going to just go ahead and delete this photo. And something that I like to do with our text pins is just to create really big text.
Really eye-catching.
Really eye-catching, and I find that it does really well. This one is kind of weird because you have this one really long word, which is kind of annoying. So it's probably not going to look as good. But we can kind of play with making something really big, and then I'm gonna make it a tiny bit smaller. There we go. Okay. Oh, center. There we go. So that would be something that would be eye-catching too. And then I would probably go and change the colors a little bit and maybe make them ooh, that's kind of fun. I don't know if I like this text color though. I'm gonna change that to be
yeah, so you can really customize it to exactly how you want it. And we love the flexibility that Adobe Spark has.
Yeah. You want to make sure that it is fully on brand. And also make sure that everything is legible, because
exactly.
if people can't read it, there's no point. And then there's also text animation, which is kind of fun. So, video pins do really well, and this is a way that you can kind of create a little video for yourself. So, basically, you can do something like that, where it does this is called dynamic, and I think there's different options. Yeah.
Ooh,
so that's pretty fun. You could also have it type out. You could have it do a color shuffle.
Super fun.
There's so many different options. You can play around with this forever. But this is a great way to you can create something very simple like this, where it's just text on a background in your brand colors, in your fonts, but it's adding something a little bit more interesting and unique, and it's going to be a little bit more eye-catching when people see it on Pinterest.
Like we've mentioned, it's super important that, your branding stays consistent throughout all of your channels, on your website, on your social media. And so let me pull up what ours looks like right now with our, new branding. So we've got our website here, and we've also got our Instagram, and here are the Pinterest graphics that we just made. Well, that Ellie just made. And, as you can see, everything just flows together. We've got our fonts here, we've got our colors, even our images are, everything is meshing well together. And I think that is what's going to make you stand out, because everything fits. And, you know, that's super important when it comes to branding.
Yeah, if someone sees one of your pins on Pinterest, say they see this pin right here and they end up clicking through to your website,
Exactly.
they're going to see that that pin belongs with your branding that's on your website. And then they'll maybe click from your website to your Instagram
Yes.
and they'll be able to see that that flows together too. And
Mhm.
then that's going to maybe lead back to your Pinterest. And it's kind of like this cycle of your brand that is just, yeah, very cohesive, very strong.
That is permeated throughout all of everywhere that you're at.
Yes,
Yeah.
when we think of those really strong brands, like for example, Glossier or
Mhm.
someone like that, like you know that it's them before
Yeah.
you even click on it. And
Exactly.
that's what's gonna make you really stand out on Pinterest and make people want to keep saving your pins because they're gonna
Exactly.
see them and know, like, oh, this is from Weekend Creative and I really love their stuff. And so I'm gonna save it. And so yeah, making sure that everything is consistent is super important. Another really great feature that you can utilize on Pinterest is story pins. The really cool thing about them is that you can almost create a blog post on Pinterest or someone
Yeah.
could like flip through and see
Like
all
a
of
little
this
series.
information. Yeah, and you can include video and I think you can include up to 20 pages.
Oh my gosh.
Which is a lot. It's a lot of content. And so we're going to kind of walk you through the process of making those. So something about a story pin that is really good is when it's inspirational and engaging and very like personal and real and encourages people to act. So I kind of think of this as like maybe your regular, like kind of more static pins are a little bit more professional, kind of like how you have Instagram posts and then you have your Instagram stories that are a little bit more behind the scenes.
Yes.
I kind of think that like that's the place to like do that behind the
Yeah.
scenes kind of
A
stuff.
more
on
storytelling
Pinterest.
type of vibe.
More storytelling. Yeah. Yeah. And exactly. You want it to tell a story. You want it to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And
Yeah.
you kind of want to focus on one idea per story pin. So, for example, like if you are a food blogger, you could just have one recipe that kind of is walked throughout that whole
Yes,
story pin.
exactly.
Or if you are a crafter, you could show one craft and how that is made. Or maybe even a collection of like, here's my favorite places to buy crafting supplies.
Yes.
And you can
My
kind of
favorite
flip
places
through.
to travel. You know,
Yes.
it's all a story, and each each part of it is flowing through from beginning to end.
Yeah. And so we're going to kind of start in Spark making our story pins for this example. And then we're going to bring it onto Pinterest and I'll show you how to finish it out. So let's jump back into Spark. And for this one, we're going to do custom size again. And we're going to do 900 by 1600. Okay, great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make these pretty simple because like we said, we're going to be adding text in Pinterest. So I'm going to just upload a picture that I want to use. Let's start with this one. Okay, and then I kind of want to create a border. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to start by just dragging it all the way to the very edges and making sure it is centered. And then I'm going to use the crop tool, close this so I have more space, and crop it to exactly the size of my pin here. Okay. And then I'm going to just size it down, maybe a little bit less. And this is going to create a border for me. So I have this border, and what I think would be fun to do is just create a different color background for each one so we can kind of play around and see which one we think looks best by hitting the shuffle button in our colors. And let's say we like this one, and then we want to also make sure that we add our logo. So we're going to go here to logo, click on that, and it'll drop it in. It drops it over here, and I kind of want to reposition it and maybe make it a tiny bit bigger. Because I'm going to want to be putting our logo on all of these. Not 100% necessary, but I think it's nice to always have and just remind people of who you are.
Yes, brand recognition. Staying consistent.
So we have this. We're going to go ahead and download this, and then I'm going to just quickly make the rest of these pages exactly like this. What I'll do is actually I'll just click on the image and hit replace and then upload a new photo, and this exact thing will remain the same. I can just change the colors and download, so it's pretty quick. And then we'll go into Pinterest and make the actual story pins. going to go to Pinterest, and we're on our profile right now. We're going to go right down here to create story pin, and then create new. And then I can upload the pins that I created. And then I'm actually going to be uploading a GIF for the very first one, because having video in the very beginning is super eye-catching, super engaging. And so you could, record a video of yourself talking about the recipe or whatever it is that you're going to be walking people through. You could have some kind of little GIF, or you could even use that animated text that we saw in Spark to create some kind of eye-catching thing. And so we're going to go ahead, and if I can select all these, we will open those up. So here we go. We want to make sure that this animation is first, and I can drag these around to make them however I want. And so I want to kind of alternate these more handmade ones with the ones that are a little bit more polished. And so I have them in order. And here, now that they're in order, I'll start with our first one. We can create different kinds of layouts. So there's this where it fills the whole pin. Or if I wanted to add like a whole bunch of text, I could do something like this. And then I could also change the background color here. And again, you're going to want to stick with your brand colors and stick with that branding that you've created for yourself. But we're going to go ahead and make this one full screen. And then we have our video, and then we have different text. So we do have a little bit of less font options, and we kind of have to stick with that, and that's okay. We're just going to want to kind of look for something that is similar to our branding. So maybe we will go with something kind of along these lines. It's a little bit playful. Actually, let's see. Maybe we'll stick with this because it kind of feels like that Josephine font that we have in our branding. So we'll kind of do something like this. We can add the title. So the title for this story pin is going to be product photography background ideas. And let's just do it like that. And then, we can change the alignment. We can change the color. So let's kind of go with that brown color. That's similar. We could also drop a hex code in here if we wanted to. And actually, I can just go ahead and pull this from, I have our Illustrator open. Then I can just grab that hex code really easily. I can grab that, and then I can go up to the text and make that the exact color. There we go. And I'm actually not loving that particular font. I feel like I want it to be a little bit more engaging. So maybe we'll do something more like this. I feel like that's still on brand, but it's a little bit more interesting. And I'm going to up the size a little bit. Oops, go down so it's like that. And then kind of position it how I want. So that is our very first page. And then we can flip through and add text to the rest of them. So what I'm going to want to do is, and it's saved my color here. It saved
the size
and everything. So that's nice. And let's add a description to this. This would be seamless paper. And maybe I'll make this so it kind of does 2 lines like that, and we can kind of play around. So we will go through and we will add, I'm going to make it a little bit smaller because I kind of want the first page to be like the main title, and then all the other ones to kind of be like this is secondary. Yeah, so we will go through and add. So this would be a particle board. And we can kind of position that maybe like here. Let's see, I'll make this smaller. There we go. Kind of fun to like play around with the placement. And then we can go here. This one is going to be tile. And bring this in so that we can kind of, again, play with the placement. This one will be fabric. And we have to actually adjust this because, oops, here we go. And you could definitely use, different colors on each page. You can play around with how you want everything to be. You could use different font colors on each page if you wanted to. Totally up to you. But we're just going to kind of stick with this one. This one is wood. Drag that over there. And then this last one, we can say remember we wanted a beginning, a middle, and an end. So for this ending, we can say that we want this to say something like, have fun and get creative. Something along those lines. Something where it inspires people to go and create. Because we always want more of that. And I'm actually going to make this one a lot bigger. And because this one, the color doesn't really show up as well against this like blue color, so I'm going to kind of see if I can find a different color that is still kind of within our brand guide, but that fits a little bit better. We'll just do something like that. So now that we're done, we're gonna hit next. And then here's where, like, if you, for example, if this was a recipe, you would want to list out ingredients here. If, you're doing a craft project, you want to make sure that you would select that and list out. You can put the cook time and all of those different things. That would be really important for those. For this one, it's not really like they don't have to have specific things because, it's not there. It's more of ideas than like, here's how to do this exact thing.
Exactly.
So we can just leave that blank and then click through. And then we want to make sure that we have our title correct. So the story pin title would be product photography background ideas. And we're going to put this onto a board. And for ours, we want to put this onto our photography tips board. And then you want to make sure, again, like we mentioned, Pinterest is a search engine, so we want to always tag and use keywords. So this could go under photography. This could go under photo studio. I saw photography tips. Perfect. So you definitely want to do as many as you can. We're just going to do these 5 right now, but just fill it up with as many tags because that's how people will discover. And we are going to then go ahead and hit publish. So here is what it looks like. And you can see that it's going to kind of play through like a story would. So it's going to show our first one, but someone also could go here and they could,
just swipe through. Yeah, click through.
Click through it. And this is a story pin. So you can have a lot of fun with this, play around with it. Again, make sure that it fits within your branding and that it just speaks to who you are. And this is a great way to create engaging content on Pinterest.
To make things easier on the go, you can also access the story pin feature directly from your phone. And everything that we showed you in our tutorial, you can do the same through the Pinterest app. And you can upload all of your photos and videos directly from your camera roll.
Now we're going to show you one more way to kind of spice up your profile. You may have noticed that this is kind of the default version of your cover photo on Pinterest. These are, some recent pins that we have saved. And I think this looks great, but you can also customize this to make this really you because, some of the pins that you save, while we try to make them fit within our brands, there's always going to be ones that maybe don't fit quite as well. And then when someone goes and they look at this, they're not going to see exactly who you are. So we're going to go back to Spark because I want to make a fun little animation to kind of jazz up that
Can you tell we love to animate things?
Okay, so we're going to do our custom size again. And this time we are going to do 800 by 450.
Nice.
And we are going to play around with our tagline, which is it the weekend yet?
Yes.
We kind of use that all over. It's on our website.
It's our sign off.
First go to our website. Yeah. So I have our little cover here. Let's kind of add a color. I feel like it can be kind of fun to do like the dark color
one.
With like pink on top.
Yeah.
We'll see how it looks. Okay.
Yes.
So we're going to add our text and it's going to say, is it the weekend yet? Great. And we want to change this. This is funny because Playfair actually used to be our font. We're going to change it to Tangerine, which is our new font. And we are going to open that up. Open that up so it's all like that. And then I want to make sure that it is centered.
Perfect.
And I want to change the color of my text to make it that
Super
pink
fun
color, which is pretty fun. And then let's play around with some animation. So this is actually how it is when you go to our website. Exactly. But we also have that dynamic, which I think that's super fun. We already showed you guys all of this, so you're probably like, why are you showing this to us again? But it's kind of fun just to like see what
we just want to see how it'll look.
I kind of like this, and I actually, if we do that, I kind of want to make the text even bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, like
yes, like that,
like huge.
Yes. You know what? We're trying to capture them, right? We're trying to get the attention.
We want
people
to know who we are.
We are. And this is it at its core, at our core.
There we go. Okay.
Ooh.
Love this. So let me go ahead and I'm going to download this and then we'll upload it to our Pinterest. And we want to download it as MP4. Okay, so it's downloaded. Let's go back to Pinterest and we are going to upload this from our downloads. And that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
So let's see how it looks.
Ooh.
It's pretty fun.
That's pretty fun, you guys. Love it.
Wow. I'm obsessed.
Me too.
So here's just another way that you can really take your branding into Pinterest and do something that nobody else is doing that's really going to set you apart. And
it doesn't always have to be text either, too.
No.
You can really play with so much.
You could do a GIF. You could do images that kind of rotate throughout. Yeah. So there's really so much that you can do.
So we learned a little bit more about how to market yourself through design and like all of the elements that you can use to keep your brand consistent.
And we also learned how to use Adobe Spark to customize your pins and create templates for yourself, as well as, create your story pins and create your cover photo, everything being on brand and how important that is and how much of an impact it can make for your brand. And now we're going to be answering your questions, and we would love to chat with you. We would love to answer any question that you have related to this or anything else about branding. So feel free to ask us, and we can't wait to interact with you.
Yeah.
Y'all, what did we think? Did we have fun? Did we learn? That was so cool. I absolutely loved what Elliot and Arabella shared with us. As Peter mentioned, it's great to utilize, the native Pinterest app to pull in text and to really, have fun with the platform. And I think what Arabella and Ellie shared with us kind of helped us, figure out how to make a brand and choose colors and bring a logo into the conversation. Also, that very cool header. That's a tip. That's a really big tip. So now we have 15 minutes left, and we are going to be having a Q&A with Arabella and maybe Ellie. Ellie might be joining us, but I think Arabella might be here already. So hello. Oh, they're both here. Love it. Okay. So let's see if we can.
There we go. Hi.
Hey, I'm going to see if I can put myself. Okay. Oh, great. Oh, great. Yes, we'll have it on both of you. Perfect. Welcome. Thank you so much for having, for creating this workshop for us.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Thank you for having us. We had a lot of fun.
It was great. It was great. And the chat was, I don't know if you were in the chat, but it was popping off. Everyone was singing their praises. So what we're going to do is actually go back to the chat. We're going to have people kind of share their questions. I think I saw a few come up in the conversation, and I'll relay them to you both. So let's open the floor. Any questions? Maybe I start with one of my own just to like warm things up. How do you two find yourselves selecting like your new branding that's coming out? How did you both it looks amazing, but how did you kind of decide on those colors?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's we kind of took what we already had and just refreshed it a lot, but I don't know. Honestly, we kind of just pick what we like. I feel like you should like your branding. You should like it should look like you, and you should be excited about it. And it shouldn't. I feel like it's easy sometimes to be like, oh, I need to do something that's trendy, or I need to pick something else that like other people are doing. But really, when it comes down to it, you should pick what you like and what speaks to you. So I think that's something that we really try to do. And then we also just kind of felt like the colors that we had right now we're like a little bit more muted. We're kind of trying to do, they're still muted, but they're like there's a little bit more like contrast to them. And our brand is like fun, playful, like it's the weekend. And so we wanted something that reflected that a little bit more.
Yeah.
And our font choices too. Like we kind of had very basic fonts, and we were like, we need something that's a little bit more playful. So I think thinking about the words that describe your brand and then coming up with something that is you and also fits within that wording is really important. But at the end of the day, it should be what you like, it should be you.
And sometimes you might be inspired by things that are happening around you too. Like for example, we got a new space and it's a whole vibe, and it's there's a lot of warmth, and it's industrial brick. So like a lot of those tones, like warm and like tones that we've kind of like incorporated into our branding.
Yeah.
Because it's what we're inspired by at the moment. And
Love that. I think that's a really good tip. Like just pick what you like, because I think the owning it as well, like kind of just saying like, yeah, this is my color scheme. This is what it's going to be. And like loved those kind of, the color theory that you kind of gave us in a little bit in the beginning. Like that's really helpful too. But yeah, totally agree. So we do have a couple questions coming in. Amanda Bittner would like to know, how do you know when you should rebrand? And then we have another question from Peter after that.
Yeah. I mean, so I always want to rebrand like every day. So I think for us, it's like once we get tired of things, we'll do it. And so, I mean, for us, I feel like we've kind of done some kind of shift every year, which I know people would probably recommend that you don't do that.
But it's hard. It's hard when you're a photography agency and you work with other kinds of brands and clients. So like, your style kind of, I don't know, you also grow a lot. Even in a year, you evolve.
Especially in the beginning of your business. I think it's always changing and evolving. And so I think it's okay to kind of figure that out as you go. And then as you become more established, you'll probably kind of settle into something.
Yeah.
But I think if you're not excited about your brand, that's a good sign that maybe it's time to mix things up a little bit. And if you kind of realize like we did, like, okay, our font is not reflecting our brand anymore. Our colors are kind of feeling a little bit dull. So, and it doesn't fit with what we want our brand to be. If you're kind of starting to recognize that and you're maybe kind of forcing things a little bit, then maybe it's a good time to fix that issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you're headed in a different direction, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe, for us as a photography agency, we focus, solely on product, but maybe we're going to start doing other things. And so that should also, could be a good indication of
or adding. So I think with that, like we also added a bunch of, like arms to our business over this last year. A lot of like, we started an online community and all these other things. And we were kind of like, we kind of branded all of those things separately and then realized like, it doesn't all fit together. So that's a sign too, like, okay, are you adding new things into your business, and do you need to kind of create an umbrella for everything where it all looks like it belongs together?
Yeah.
That's important. So
keeping it cohesive, which is one of your tips that you told us very clearly throughout the workshop. Make sure you keep it together. So totally. And another question came in from Lisa. She's at Real South America Fit on Pinterest, so give her a follow. But she's curious about the process behind your logo. How were you able to decide like what your logo was? What did you use? Did you both design it? Like how do you
She's
pick
a
a logo?
graphic designer. She does it all. She's
Okay.
amazing.
I honestly, that's such a
What
good
did
question,
I
but
can't remember what we were thinking.
I don't feel like there was a lot of thought that went into it, to be like totally honest.
Yeah.
So I kind of designed that logo when we first came up with our name. I mean, gosh, probably like almost 4 years ago now.
Mhm.
And I remember I had a notebook and I just drew out a whole bunch of different logo options, like all these different things. And I was kind of playing around with just different options. And I honestly don't even remember where I got inspiration for that. And I don't really remember the thought process behind it. I know it's like sounds so bad, but
Lots of
I,
stuff happening, you know.
yeah, I think
No
I just
shade.
yeah, somehow that came to life, and I wish I had more practical tips for it, but I think we did like that it kind of felt playful. It didn't feel
Yes.
very stagnant. It kind of felt like there was movement to it, which kind of
Movement.
felt like it fit with the idea of the weekend.
I mean, now that I think about it, I'm like, oh, it's kind of like we're following a circle, which is like a sun, and I think of like
Yeah.
something on the
Yeah.
weekend, and like,
But that wasn't the thought
but
process.
that
That
was
wasn't
not it.
there when we came
No,
up.
let's just like take our name of our brand and just like make it curved, whatever.
Yeah,
No, but it does a lot. I think you're right.
yeah.
And that's part of like, when you're starting out, like you kind of just gravitate towards something that you love and like, and for me, it was like when she showed me the logo options, I was like, ooh, like that one kind of stood out to me the most. And
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
I think it is really playful. It's fun. It's relaxed. It says, we're having a weekend. We're having a
Yeah, it is relaxed.
Yeah.
It's not very formal.
No,
And our
no.
brand is not formal at all. We're very informal. But if you have a really formal brand, you probably want something a lot more structured and more clean cut, so something to think about. Like, yeah, like kind of like we said in the video, like everything is going to communicate. So what are all the elements you have? What are they communicating to people who see them?
Mhm.
Got it. So Julie just asked, do you have any tips for creating a brand that flows when you have more than one team member? My daughter is joining my business. She's young and playful and fun. I'm older and I wanted to reflect both of us, and we have different styles and tastes. That's a really interesting question. What do you guys think? Or what do you guys think?
Oh, that's such a good question.
It's so hard because we are very similar in our taste, which I
Yes.
think has made things really easy for
Yes.
us. I would say that if you have very different tastes, like kind of try to find something that you do agree on. So like maybe you do have one color that you both really like, or maybe there's something a little bit more neutral could work. But I also think maybe at that point you kind of take a little step back from what you like and think more about like what does the brand need to look
Yes.
like, and
Almost like figuring as the brand as its own identity,
like its own person.
Its own person. Yeah.
Which I do think is helpful to separate yourself in that way. Like we treat Weekend Creative as its own person, and then our other like businesses that fall under it, they're also like their own little people. So I think it's kind of helpful it becomes a little bit less emotional when you think about things that way. You can be a little bit more objective.
Yeah.
So kind of maybe try to separate and see like, okay, well, this is the brand's look, or this is the brand's feeling. Like this is what it does. This is what I want people to see, and then design around that versus like more about like what you personally like.
Yeah.
Mhm. It looks like she creates, they're going to be creating crochet patterns at icancrochetthat.com.
So
Cool.
Well,
Thank you.
I mean, like crocheting is the meeting of two things together, right? So
Yeah.
it's almost like, there's the daughter and the mother
Love
and like
that.
coming together.
Wow. Ariel, that was deep. That was deep. That was
So I mean,
good.
like you can play with that, right? Like and the fact that it's like something that you guys do together is like so, I don't know. I feel like that's strong as a from a brand perspective.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow. You're just in awe.
Photography to branding.
That's so good. Well, I hope that was helpful. So we do have a couple other, we have a few, we have a little bit more time.
Yeah.
So something that Peter followed up with about the logo, which thank you for sharing that, very unique story about designing a logo, just figuring it out along the way. What are the top 3 brands, like branding wise, design wise, aesthetic wise, that inspire you two? Like brands right now that you're loving?
I know.
So it's kind of funny. So when we first started, actually our name was inspired by the brand Bando, because they had a patch that said available for weekends or something like that. And
Yeah.
I saw it on Pinterest.
Yeah.
And that I was like, oh, weekends, like that
Yeah.
should be a part of our name. I love that. So I would say in the very beginning, like Bando is really inspiring to us, not only in our name, but also just they have a very playful. Very fun style. I think Glossier, I don't think our branding is necessarily similar to Glossier, but I think we've always been really inspired by how Glossier is very, you recognize them
It's
immediately. I think we mentioned them in the video. It's like, you see
It's just
something and it's, you know, it's
revolutionary. Yeah.
Glossier, and they're even just in their photography, that's been
Yeah.
like, they've been very impactful in kind of changing like product photography, which is,
Yeah.
I mean, for us is really interesting. Anyone else?
Yeah. I mean, a classic inspiration for us always is Jimmy Marble.
He's not a brand though.
I
He's a
know.
photographer.
That's true, but he has his own brand.
Inspiration.
But
Yeah.
it's like it's just a very specific style, and I feel like
It's
he does that. It's
recognizable.
recognizable. But yeah, I mean, I think you said it. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a few.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We're always inspired by all kinds of brands, you know. It's always changing too, right?
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
come across new ones, and yeah.
Well, also you're on Pinterest, so inspiration is just popping up through the
No,
feed, through every story pin. Of
We're
course.
on Pinterest every day.
Yeah.
Yes,
Every single day.
so are we for sure.
Yep.
So am I. So it looks like this actually might have to be our last question, because we have to do a few announcements at the end. But thank you so much for hosting this beautiful workshop for us.
Yeah. If there's any single questions that didn't get answered, feel free to DM us. We're happy to answer. We're open books. We love talking about all this stuff. So feel free to reach out to us if you didn't get your question answered. We would love to make sure that we can touch on it.
Yeah, we have a community hub, like a little message board where we share Q&As and things like that. So if anyone wants to share their questions, like we'll post them in the community hub as well, so people can, and we'll email them to you both, and then you both can send us the answers and we'll share it in the community hub.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both, Ellie and Arabella. It was so great to meet you and work with you.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Okay. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
That was fantastic. They are so talented. I hope everyone enjoyed that as much as I did. We do have a few announcements, but as mentioned, please send through your questions in the chat. We will funnel them over to Ellie and Arabella, and then we'll share their answers in the hub. Make sure you are signed up for the hub, by the way. So let's get back to the presentation just for a quick little rundown of some announcements. Let's see. Let's go to the next couple of slides. There we go. Okay, so wanted to give some love to the Today tab features that we'll be featuring next week. Great news. Congratulations to these wonderful features. At Hostess Tori with 3 spicy cocktails to try. At First Day of Home with 5 tips for growing tomatoes. Love it. At Project Whim with the DIY upcycled pot with dirt. At Peach and Pepper, connecting the dots with their easy spring style. My Cancer Chic, starting each month with these mindfulness tips. At Explore, Cook, Eat on how to make Nashville hot chicken. Love Hattie B's. And at Fly Fierce Fab on how to style florals for spring. Woo woo! Love, love, love to give our creators the opportunity to be shared on the Today tab. And yes, please keep pinning because we have new prompts for you all. New prompts. And here they are. For food this week, we want you to share your barbecue recipes. Yum. Please do. For fashion and beauty, we want you to share a color explosion. That's in beauty, in your makeup, or in your outfits, whatever you'd like, just make it colorful. Health and wellness, how you prioritize mental health, so important. And home and decor, small space gardening tips. Gotta know. It's turning into spring. It's almost May. And you know what? That is the end of our show. So, oh, no, it's not. Couple reminders. Mental Health Awareness Month is in May. We are looking to prioritize your content. Please keep a lookout for those requests that'll be coming from our end. May is also Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. So we have that ask out right now. Submit your story pins to be featured. We also have the product test opportunity called a Create that's in the hub. And then again, the hub, make sure you're joining, make sure you're introducing yourself and sharing, what you love about Pinterest and how we can help you. As mentioned, you'll find the FAQs and the questions and answers from today in the hub. So meet us there, meet us in the hub. And then I think that's it. Right? Then yeah, that's it. Thank you so much, everyone. We had a fantastic workshop. I hope you all enjoyed. Send us your questions. We'll pass along to Weekend Creative. Thank you to Ellie and Arabella. That was fantastic. Have a wonderful weekend, y'all.